Hi there guys, welcome back to another episode of Excel Garage. Now, with a little bit more help. Say hello, Moose. But no, in all honesty, Moose here isn't a permanent addition. He's just my parents' dog that I'm looking after for a few days. I'm not sure I'd be very good at holding a spanner anyway, so good moral support though. Anyway, as you can see in the background, the GT86 is back, but unfortunately it doesn't have an exhaust made yet. So there's a bit of a tale to go into there. So let's start off with that. So while Moose is surveying the workshop, making sure it's all in order, we can start having a little talk about the GT86. So obviously, as you see, got it back. Nothing's really changed. It's not got an exhaust, as you can see. Instead, I have a whole load of exhaust parts to eventually be made into an exhaust. So it's a bit of an unfortunate tale. It's just a bit of bad luck, unfortunately. Took this to a local fabricator a little bit over a month ago now. And unfortunately, he had a few health conditions that meant he couldn't finish the job. But by that point, he had already kind of designed the exhaust and I'd sent him some money for the materials. So now I'm left with a car with no exhaust and the materials, and that's where we are. Bit unfortunate, but obviously I figured I'll cut my losses, get the car back, take it somewhere else. I've already found somewhere else that is happy to make an exhaust for it with the materials, so fantastic. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I figured we'd get it back for a weekend. I can, have the car back. I've had time now to think about the oil pressure issues. As you can see, it's not changed one bit. What we're going to do is dive into the oil pressure issues, as I say. There's a few potential issues with this that could be causing it to have low oil pressure that range from super easy to super difficult to fix. Obviously, I'm trying to go at it with a realistic mindset, but also trying to go in it with a bit of optimism as well. So the optimistic side of things says that it could just be a faulty sensor. So perhaps replace the sensor and it reads properly, or it could be incorrect sensor scaling in the ECU, and again, reading incorrectly. So what I'm going to do to either verify or just double check that is use just a little mechanical gauge. As you can see, goes up to 160 psi. So really we're looking for somewhere around here, 20 to 40 or even up to 60. But that would be good if we could get it anything above 15. And not only that, I'm also going to change where this is. Now that of course might throw a spanner in the works. I could just plumb it right into the T-piece here and read it. But what I'm thinking of doing is I actually want to move the whole assembly down to one of these oil filter relocation lines. So have the gauge just down here somewhere, nice and easy to read. So that's step one, is to check it. Obviously, if it's a faulty sensor, then fantastic. We can, potentially move the sensor down to that location. It might just be a location issue. Kind of doubt that, but it could be. Move the sensor down there. See what happens really. And that's the very peak of the easy solutions. The next solution, I feel it could be the O-rings on the valley cover. The valley cover's underneath the element manifold here, and of course covers the valley of the V. On this particular engine and a lot of LS3s, the valley cover is built in with a set of O-rings that block up the displacement on demand oil channels. A lot of LS3s are equipped with the oil channels, but doesn't use displacement on demand, whereas some of the truck motors that this used to be do. This one didn't. So basically it had the O-rings. Now once upon a time I bought a new valley cover from Siki. Unfortunately has no O-rings, as you can see. So this is basically useless to me. I need to sell this. And obviously I decided to just reuse my original one. Now my original one is old. The O-rings in it are flat as a pancake. They are not sealing anything. So there's a couple of solutions. You can either get some kind of really fancy rivets to rivet and block the holes up. You can tap and then put some bolts in to block them up. Obviously, now that the engine's all back in one piece, I don't want to be tapping and drilling or doing anything to the block that could leave debris in the engine. Of course, assuming that having run with lowish oil pressure hasn't done any damage itself. Whatever, we're not gonna worry about that. It's an LS. They're built like workhorses. You could probably run it on maple syrup and it'd be all right. So I bought a new valley cover. This is exactly the same as the original, but it's new. So that means, gasket aside, it's got lovely new O-rings. And as you can see, these are much more plump. as you'll see when I take off the old one. The old one, they're flat as a pancake, they're not sealing anything. So I think what we're going to do is, hopefully, this is the silver bullet solution. You know, with those, 8 oil channels essentially open in the engine as it is, it's not going to be making any oil pressure. So I'm hoping that we can fit that. Nice, easy fix. So we've got to drain the fuel rail, which means we may as well fit an oil pressure sensor. That is one number I know nothing about in this car. I'm kind of winging it and just guessing that the oil pressure is correct. May as well find out if it's actually correct. Got cables for it that are just dangling loose over there, so the ECU can read it. So why not do that? And I've got another little inline. Here's the inline AN to 1/8 NTP adapter for the oil filter line. And here's a smaller one for the fuel line. Gonna pop this in. There's the adapter end. Got a new pressure sensor. Again, I could use this for the oil pressure as well if that proves to be faulty. So I might just buy a second one of those. And we're going to have a fuel pressure reading on the ECU as well. Obviously, it's a good thing to have. It will tell me if there's any faults to the fuel pump or with the fuel filter, anything like that. So it's good to know. Obviously, we've got to take it off, so why not fit these while we're there? So that's what we're going to dive into. And then if those both fail, we get into the bad news. The news that the sump could have to come off because the oil pickup tube O-ring is pinched. I do have a new one of those, and that could be pinched. It's quite a common issue on these. I did try and do my best. It was my first time doing it, but I did try and do my best not to pinch it while installing it. We even had like a little brace so it gets pushed down on both sides rather than just the one, which is what can lead to the pinching. That could be another issue. You know, even worse news could be things like cam bearings, crank bearings, rod bearings could be gone. Obviously, hopefully the rod bearings aren't. I have replaced those on camera. You guys see me do it. Cam bearings are an unknown factor, as is the crank bearings, but the old rod bearings that came out weren't too bad, so I was hoping that it'd be all right. I don't think that's the issue. I think at worst it could be the oil pickup. But the problem with that is it means getting to the sump, which means either pulling the engine out or dropping the subframe and dropping the sump from under the engine, which means supporting the engine from above. Obviously, a lot of work. So here's the plan. We fit the pressure gauge, check the pressure. If that doesn't work, regardless of whether that works, I've got it now, may as well fit it. We're gonna fit the new valley cover. Pray that increases it as well. Currently it's 15 PSI. If it gets up to around 30 at idle, I'm happy, I'm gonna send it. And then, what's happening? We're gonna be doing all this. This is now the 3rd of December or such. It's a Saturday. I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off next week. We're going to be doing these bits of work, and then on Wednesday next week, we're going to take the car, we're going to take the box of exhaust parts, and we're going to drive up to Craig at Dynatalk, who anyone that knows LS swaps in the UK, Craig is the man. So many for however many years, he's done them in pretty much every chassis. Hasn't done a GT86, obviously. Once upon a time, my plan was to take the car to Craig and have Dynatalk wire it and tune it. Didn't work out that way because I thought I could do it quicker myself. I couldn't. Clearly, we're in December now. However, I've learned a lot, and it's been fun, and it's something that I have had my hands on, and it's given content to show you guys. So I'm not sad that I didn't choose to go with him for that. But yes, we're going to be taking a box of exhaust parts. We're going to be loading this onto the back of a flatbed, driving it all the way up to Birmingham, best part 3 hours, dropping it off, coming home, and then going from there. If there's still an oil pressure issue when I drop it off, I might even have Craig look at it because, like I say, he's the LS man. He'll know exactly what to do. He'll be able to diagnose it for me, give me thoughts on. He might just fix it if it's the oil pickup O-ring. If it's something worse, he can tell me what it is, and I can take that information and go from there. It's just one of those issues now where I'm almost at the point where I just want to throw a little bit of money, which I don't have, throw a little bit of money at it to go away. So that's where we are. We're going to do these little bits, show you guys on camera, and then towards the end of the video, we'll be loading it up onto the back of a truck, and we'll go from there. So that's the plan. I mean, it's not the most exciting video, obviously. It's a bit of a whoopsie, what went wrong kind of video. But screw it, we're just gonna run with it. Let's get back into it. I've been a month without the car now. I've been itching to dive back into it and just start tackling things. A month ago, I was a bit upset about the oil pressure being low. But I've had time to think about it. I've had time to come up with a few plans, and I just want to crack on. So that's what we're going to do. Needless to say, I don't think the car's going to be running. It's not going to be driving. It's not going to be insured or MOT'd or things like that this side of Christmas. I think this is now going to be a 2023 finish. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't really want to finish it and then there'd be loads of salt on the roads and we'd be driving around in like horrible, icy, cold conditions of salt on the roads. Just kind of reluctantly come to the conclusion that I need a little bit more time to do things properly. That's what we're going to do. But enough chit chat for now. Let's get some tools, start having a look at this oil pressure issue, because I'm sure you're bored of hearing me talking about it now. So let's dive into it. Right, first things first, let's consult our expert. What do you think the oil pressure is, Moose? Yeah? Do you think it's a silly gauge or some sensor? Do you think it's all a bit screwed? I hope not. He says, get back to work. What the hell are you doing talking to me? I'm just a dog. Come on in. Let's do it. Yeah. Right, so we've got a little gauge down here. It's upside down at the moment, but you can see I've roughly marked where like 20 psi is. So if the gauge gets anywhere kind of above that, I'm super happy. We're just going to give it a quick start just to see if sensor location being there instead of up on the back of the engine block back there makes any difference. Rather than do loads of changes at once and then fix it but not entirely sure what the fix was, do it incrementally. Here we go. Always an event with open headers, but as you can see, the gauge was reading around 17, 18 psi, which is, a little bit higher, but it is colder, obviously. The mechanical gauge down here was probably bouncing around 20 psi, so it's probably honestly the same between the two, which is a bit unfortunate. Obviously, it would have been amazing if it was as simple as that. But it also tells me that the sensor that I have isn't dead or incorrect, or the scaling is not wrong. So it's still, it's still a useful experiment. I think what we're going to do next is we're going to whip off the inlet manifold, change out that valley cover, give that another go from there. Let's dive into that. I'll set you guys up on a tripod and we can take off the inlet manifold.
So of course the first things first of taking the inlet manifold off is getting the fuel out of the fuel rail. I have to drain that, remove the fuel line, and of course this is where it then eventually fits the fuel pressure sensor. Although I am going to have to readdress this later in the future because it's already leaking, truth be told, so fantastic. But anyway, moving on, so obviously removing the inlet manifold, nice and easy, blocking up the inlet ports and the engine heads so that I obviously don't drop anything into the engine, that would be disastrous. And then removing the valley cover, as simple as that. We've now got to the point where we've removed everything we need to remove, and it's just a case of putting it back together with the new valley cover. So you can see here a clip of me showing off the seals on the old valley cover. You can see how these are super flat, and this orange rubber seal used on the original parts is known to be a little bit softer and squishier than the black rubber used on the later parts, as you saw earlier in the video. And as you'll also know from seeing earlier in the video, these seals are totally flat compared to the new ones. Obviously these aren't sealing anything. Unfortunately, I actually forgot to record actually just putting on the valley cover. So here you see me actually tightening down the new one. This is a different valley cover. The eagle-eyed amongst you might be able to do a little spot the difference between this and the last clip. One thing I did notice while doing this is that the oil galleys that these block up actually had oil at the top of them. So obviously this tells me that oil's got all the way through the engine, it's got all the way to these points, and then it's leaked out, and that's why it's not created any pressure. The pressure that we are seeing, the 15 odd psi, is actually just the resistance of the oil. At least it's told me that oil was circulating around the engine, which is good. But it's just a simple case of bolting it down with a new gasket, bolting down the inlet manifold again, obviously making sure to torque it down in its proper order so that the seals make a proper seal, fitting that fuel pressure sensor, and reconnecting the fuel line. Simple as that. Finally, the last thing I did was fit this rudimentary little intake. I think I'm actually going to be replacing this fairly soon after I get the car back from having its exhaust made. Could actually be not big enough, believe it or not. And you know what they say, size matters.
Right, here we go guys, moment of truth. As you can see, got the valley cover changed. Did a couple of other bits. I moved the oil pressure sensor down here because why not? That's where the obviously that's where I had the mechanical gauge, and it's just so much easier there than hanging around up here somewhere. Installed a fuel pressure sensor, so now the car knows how much fuel pressure it has. Installed a rudimentary intake. Eventually I want to bring it down here and have the air filter kind of here. But enough of that, let's give it a test. I'm a little bit nervous. Let's go see what happens. Added some more petrol because it is getting low. You have to excuse the fogginess of the camera. It's pretty cold in here, so it's kind of all fogged up. Anyway, I really hope this works. Let's fucking go! You probably can't hear me, but I am so pleased with that. Oh my god, but there we have it. The oil pressure's fixed. There's a valley cover in the end. I fitted a fuel pressure gauge, as I might have said, but I think it might be broken already. Oh well, fuel pressure, smear pressure, eh? All that's next is to go get an exhaust made, and I can get it MOT'd, I can drive it around, I can do whatever I want. There's a few little things I need to fix. The alignment, the airbag light's on, probably because the seats were unplugged for a while, so you know, probably just need to reset that, like disconnect the battery for a day or something like that, and it might go away. But I think the most important thing really, I think there's something I need to try, isn't there? I'd see if there's a move. A little bit nervous. Oh my god, it's so loud. Bit cold as you can see, but there we go. I think I need to go home, have a shower, fucking freezing, have a drink to celebrate, and tomorrow I'll be loading it up on the back of a truck. I won't be driving on there because I don't want the first drive to be onto the back of a flatbed unattended by anyone else to make sure I'm not gonna launch it off the side or something. Drive it up to Dyno Talk, hand it over to Craig and the guys there. But I'm probably not going to end the episode here, I think. But if I don't, let's hop till tomorrow, do a couple of little clips of me loading onto a truck, and perhaps I'll do an on the road update if I can manage that. We'll see how it goes. Hi there guys. Obviously, spoiler alert, I didn't do an on the road update.
It just wasn't something I wanted to really do, you know, driving a flatbed with my car on the back, not something I'm used to, trying to film a bit for the episode. So there we have it. We're ending the episode here. So I need to do my little spiel. So thanks for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're as relieved as I am about that oil pressure issue being fixed. The car is actually up at Dynatalk now, having its exhaust made, so I'm going to be picking that up quite soon, hopefully. Perhaps just in time for Christmas. And obviously, you'll be getting this episode on Christmas. So happy Christmas to you all. I hope you have a good one. Hope you're celebrating. Hope you're spending time with friends and family and so on. I hope you have a fantastic new year. Of course, hopefully next year we'll get the GT86 out on the road, go to shows, meets. I really want to try a track day with it, truth be told, once it's all done. So hopefully we could do all of those things. But yeah, I'd really appreciate if you showed a little love for the channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe down below. Give the video a like, drop a little comment. Let me know what you think about that last clip. It's so loud. I think I got up to about 3,000 RPM there, and it's just, I think my ears are still ringing weeks later. And if you do really want to support the channel, you can always become a member on YouTube. I don't think I've actually mentioned that. You can join as a little membership, and if I get some members, I'll start doing like member exclusive things, perhaps little Q&As, early access to videos, things like that. You know, you get a little badge against your name and so on. Or if you don't want to do that, you can always join the Patreon. There's a link to that down below in the description. Pledging a little bit would really help the channel out. It allows me to get a little bit of money out of making these videos. Of course, they take time and money. As you know, of course, working on a car does, things like microphones and cameras and so on. I'd really like to upgrade my camera setup. I'm still just using my mobile phone. You know, perhaps some better sound quality stuff would be good as well. And even now I'm just using a little sound recorder, which probably isn't the best quality, but there we go. But anyway, as I say, thanks for watching. Do all that good stuff, and I hope you have a good time. Cheers. Bye for now.